In your challenge of the day, you get a treat if you know what the card Accursed Marauder does. Good luck. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. And we're running back a deck that we tried a couple months back. So, Funk has submitted this Dark Depths Overlord of the Balemurk deck. And I'm gonna be honest, the first time around when I played this, I looked at this pile of cards and was very, very skeptical. And then I realized how well the Overlord plays with the Dark Depths stuff. It doesn't look like it would be the case, but as it turns out, Vampire Hexmage removing the counters from the Overlord, and then the Overlord can attack and return the Vampire Hexmage, is actually a pretty darn strong loop. And similarly, you can rip off the counters with Mutated Cultist, and then this is a Death Toucher that might just block and die, and then you bring it back. And when you bring it back, the next time around, well, it can go after the Dark Depths. So while you have the possibility of comboing off on, turn 2, turn 3 relatively easily, it is done alongside a plan that is ready to grind out for a longer game. I did not really mess with much of the main deck here. The main deck had 2 surgical extractions, which I fully understand. Like, I absolutely get that. But I think right now, I'm more concerned with just easily answering a Tamiyo and moving on with my life than I am dying to the reanimator stuff. Tamiyo is scary, folks. And I wanted a couple of cards that I could play without losing any tempo that answered Tamiyo. So I took out the 2 surgicals for 2 snuff outs in the main deck, and then I subbed a random tutor card that I have forgotten the name of for a Grafdigger's Cage. That way I kept some initial graveyard hate in the main deck. The sideboard originally had a ton of graveyard hate. I think the sideboard was originally 3 ley lines, 3 fairies. There were 2 surgicals, and I think there was 1 Urza Saga tutor target as well. And I've dialed that back to 4 fairies and a spellbomb so that we have the ability to tutor up a persistent graveyard hate card and something that can clear out the graveyard when we care about things like your Life from the Loams and Murktide Regents. I have also made sure that we can respect Tamiyo Planeswalker in the sideboard. That's something that I'm really worried about with these black decks that just aren't great at innately answering Planeswalkers. So we can Edict a Tamiyo if it transforms, and we can also Pithing Needle it, and I think that is enough interaction there. As far as the One Ring combo decks go, 2 Pithing Needles main, 4 Disruptor Flute sides. I think that's the way that I'm going to address this. It's possible some of these should be Null Rods or Void Mirrors, but I have been really unimpressed by Void Mirror in practice, despite people telling me that it is good in theory. So we have some tools for our combo matchups that aren't graveyard, our combo matchups that are graveyard, and then we've got 5 cards that are generically good versus fair stuff. And Disruptor Flute has a ton of different modes. Like, we can use this to stop combo cards like Show and Tell, and this can also just be Pithing Needles 3 through 6 for Wasteland effects in a matchup where our opponent has recursive Wasteland. Now, in case it's not immediately obvious, we are playing Fairy Macabre because of the synergy with Overlord here, which is relatively strong. And I don't think it would be crazy to play this card in the main deck of this deck if you are really, really, really wanting to gun for Reanimator. And to see whether or not you get your little treat for knowing Magic cards, Accursed Marauder is the Fleshbag Marauder of the current age, where each player sacrifices a non-token creature. And again, these sorts of effects that are stapled to creatures can be reused or gotten back from the graveyard with Overlord of the Balemurk. This was a lot of fun to play last time around, so I am looking forward to this one. Notable difference from last time around. Last time around, the deck was not an Urza's Saga deck. It was a 4x Thespian stage deck, and now we're just down to 2 of those. The Urza's Saga is a lot of utility, and in other similar decks in the past, I've complained that it was hard to find the Dark Depths. Well, a couple of tutors for that certainly helps with that. This is a deck without dual lands. If you want to play a legacy deck, but you can't afford the dual lands, this is a way that you could go. Use promo code ThrabenU at toamagic.com. Save yourself a little bit of money. Maybe say hello to Mr. Percy, who is in the corner. Mr. Percy, do you want to say hello during my ad read? Big meow for the people? No big meow for the people. Anyway, you always would enjoy free shipping on your orders from toamagic.com. They're great. I love them. Consider giving them some money. All right, let's battle. Alrighty, what are we looking at here? We are looking at 7 lands. Nuh-uh. Ooh. The good news is we have pieces of a combo. Bad news is everything else. This is honestly a totally fine hand on 5. It's never you. It's always these 4. What's my land count here? 23? 23. I think I'm going to keep the extra land drop. Basic Mountain often means Moonstompy. Do I want to play Urborg on 1 so I can rip Dark Depths on 2? Yes. I think I do. Enjoy your Badlands. Ooh. Well, the Engineer is the thing that does something different here. We will probably be going after that. So, opponent's hand is not doing anything in a hurry here. They opted to not play Goblin Welder on 1 so that they could hold up Pyroblast, and then they see my pile of non-blue bullshit. I do like their line, though. Like, after I've mulliganed, if I'm a blue deck, a Ponder might be critical to me having mana to actually play Magic the Gathering. All right, they're still holding up a Pyroblast. There's not too many words. Blue Urborg decks. So I think I'd probably just play the other Welder. I can pick up Bowmasters here. And we'll slowly start ticking this down, but we're probably not going to end up doing that all that slowly. There's the Tomb. Opponent's getting saucy with Welder. Fable? Ensnaring Bridge. Uh-oh. That's real bad. What do we do about that in game 1? Lose? Right of Consumption. Singleton Right of Consumption. Largely now becomes the plan. Wow. Now I don't get to Overlord either? What a disaster. Kill a Welder. I don't think I thought seize a Pyroblast. Weaken Impending. There's another Mountain. Notably, my opponent can just give up those Pyroblasts at any time. Saga ticks up. I have all these amazing creatures that are not successfully getting in the red zone. Send them. Down to 16. Overlord ticks down. This is a singleton, by the way. We are very unlucky that our opponent drew that. However, we have dodged any other relevant cards on their end. So there's some give and take. Root Boots. Activating this is weird, huh? Like, I want my theoretical value out of it, but it just doesn't do much and might actively be bad. Pithing Needles are great. Expedition map is kind of important. I think I'm just going to get an expedition map. Not play Boots. Go to combat. Send in for 4. Maybe. Yeah, so opponent's just going to Pyroblast a random card, so the Construct token can't attack. And then Pyroblast another random card. So none of my friends can attack. That's not very cash money of you. Do this. Pick up a Dark Depths. Play a Dark Depths. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do this and give the Bowmaster the tiniest possible amount of protection versus something like a Fury. So now we have Hexmage and Depths, but we're looking for a singleton. Opponent found theirs. Overlord, nearly a creature. That Urborg is not doing me any favors. I think it is fine to play out additional non-vampire Hexmage creatures. Now we move Lava Spur Boots over here so that we can attack with 2 1/1s. I'm still going to get my chip damage when I can get it. 14. Overlord, officially a duder. There's a Fable. Again, our Bowmasters has some real amount of text as damage. Not much, but some. Now my 1/1 creatures can't easily attack. Does my opponent realistically have any way to beat the 2020? Like, remove it? Probably not in game 1. Dead Gons are possible in post-sideboard games. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Rip counters off. I think these go onto the Bowmaster again. I imagine that my opponent does not loot. It's Lightning Bolt on the Bowmasters first. Now they can loot. It's fine, we'll just bring back the Bowmasters when our Overlord attacks. Oh wait, not happening. Opponent junks a Red Blast, yeah. It is probably not worth it for me to cast the card Thoughtseize most of the time from here. Alright. We could remove some counters from a Fable. That's a thing we could do. We could remove some counters from an Orc Army token. Yeah. Move those counters over there. Fable becomes Reflection of Kiki Jiki. And it's another one. 41 cards remaining. Mutated Cultist. I'm not worried about my opponent attacking right now. I guess I'll save this. There are things like Planeswalkers that can matter later on. You know, your Karn the Great Creators and friends. And by the way, just to talk about another skill, if this was a paper Magic the Gathering game, I think I just would have conceded when my opponent stuck Ensnaring Bridge. Don't know that it is worth your time to play towards a singleton in a matchup that is likely to be as grindy as this one when you have to manage a paper clock. So at end of turn, my opponent can make another creature, but that doesn't super matter. They can't get past this wall of stuff. So now there's 2 reflections over there. The reflections can do things like copy the other reflections. Cards like Fury start to become pretty scary. What are we doing? We're welding. Oh, I see. We're welding the copy into a real one. Seems sweet. 6 mana. Phyrexian Devourer. You've got it. So this probably means that my opponent has like some Agatha, Soul Cauldron style combo finishes as well, in addition to the Painter stuff. So if I play this Pithing Needle, my opponent can just weld it out unless I name Welder with it. So despite the fact that I am being threatened by other combos, I think I have to start on Goblin Welder here. Weld. I guess there's some very funny, like, make copy. Oh, no. No, my opponent could... Now, I guess the Ensnaring Bridge means it's not cool to... Oh, there's the Grindstone. Yeah, okay. I mean, that'll do. We had plenty of draws for our out, but it was a singleton out. We're very bad at beating that Ensnaring Bridge. That is just kind of the wheelhouse of mono black. You don't normally get to destroy artifacts unless you're playing something real funky. I think Cage can become a spell bomb pretty easily. And then we are probably just playing some amount of additional removal. I could play more Pithing Needle effects. The Edict is medium. I think the Hand Disruption is medium. It's fine at the beginning of the game and then gets significantly worse over time, as that game showed, where I just had a Thoughtseize in my hand for probably literally 6 or 7 turns and just never wanted to cast it. Ritual's good, maps are good, Boot's good, Needle's great. Most of the creatures are totally fine. I think I am filling with a Disruptor Flute here. It's possible I could go fewer removal spells and more flutes. So for example, if my opponent is playing well, there's a very good chance at times that they will just put Painter on black so that Snuff Out is not a valid removal spell. Some of that depends on how many Pyroblasts are in the deck in post-sideboard configurations. Let's try this. This does not seem great. relative to what my deck is capable of doing. This produces a 20/20 on turn 3. That's fine. I'll keep this pitching 1 Urza's Saga. If I could draw something to do on turn 2, one of the Pithing Needles, one of the removal spells or something, that would be real cool. Or even Vampire Hexmage. I think that means that I lead on Urborg on the first turn cycle. Basic Mountain into Goblin Welder. That's not what I'm looking for. I will just play a basic here. Alright. Opponent is passing the turn. Making a Welder attack. I don't have the Bowmaster. Why are we pausing in blocks? No Red Ninja. Moving to my turn. Now, as a heads up... Ooh! Resolves. Anyway, as a heads up, Mutated Cultist has more text other than just rip the counters off. But I think the... I think the cost reduction portion is not going to be relevant the vast majority of the time. We're not trying to like Ulamog or One Ring after this. Although we have tried that in other videos to mixed success. I don't like Vampire Hexmage as the name there. I could have played that last turn and simply did not. I don't think that's your optimal choice. You know, Exhibit A, what is about to happen, is the reason why. Boop. So there is nothing wrong with just playing a Vampire Hexmage as a 2/1 beater and then using it to combo later. And I probably would have done that if I had a Vampire Hexmage in my opening hand. All right, we get the very fast concession there. Was that a 6-card hand from opponent? It was a 6-card hand from opponent. That probably just needed something else to come together. So now, do I want more Disruptor Flutes? Every card that is currently in the deck serves a purpose. I think I am comfortable with how I have sideboarded. I don't think more Needles are bad, but the Needles would be coming out at the cost of something like Dark Ritual so that I can go faster, or just fair removal cards. This is an okay opening hand. It goes bananas if I draw a Dark Depths, and then otherwise doesn't do much, because I just have 3 things that all want me to have Dark Depths at the same time. I think I'll mulligan this. Yes, absolutely. I will keep this one probably just getting rid of Urza's Saga here. What about Swamp instead? Get rid of Saga. Opponent has their own Urza's Saga, which I could just Disruptor Flute right now. I kind of just want to Disruptor Flute. Is that so crazy? Then my opponent can never Disruptor Flute my Vampire Hexmage next turn. That might be getting lost in the sauce. Go ahead and pass turn. Saga ticks up. Spirit Guide. Magus of the Moon. Well, that's pretty bad. Especially with this. Alright. Such is life. So now what we need to do is kill Magus of the Moon. I can put a Dark Depths into play with no ice counters on it, and then if we find a removal spell for Magus, it's just over for my opponent. This could even be my removal spell for Magus. I think I'm doing Dark Ritual, Disruptor Flute on Urza's Saga, and just play out a creature that can attack. There's a Basic Mountain. There's a Painter. Red Blasts are live. Yeah. Combat. No fear. Get in there. Opponent just takes it. Goes to 18. I think I'll pass the turn with the hope of this being an ambush removal spell for Magus of the Moon. Artifact land. Resolves. Fatal Push. A card that is not in my deck. I don't think that's a good name. I've never shown fetch lands this entire time, which is something you really need to make Fatal Push good. I'm not going to Bowmaster this turn. I'm going to try to get my opponent to attack with a Magus and just act like I have jack shit over here. Woohoo! Agatha's Soul Cauldron is a scary one. Lava Spur Boots. Potentially pretty cool. So I think we go bam, bam, bam. Trigger. Remove 2 counters from Urza's Saga. Still a mountain. This now is free. Legend rule this land. Boots, equip. Go to Punchies. Punchies for 4. And just kind of fully hope that my opponent cannot meaningfully combo off. Because our average mid-range draws probably favor me. Probably. Barrow-goyfs are still small. Oh? Really? Like, the Dark Depths? The little buddy? Can you answer this and then you hope to turn that into a grindstone? Nope, we have gotten the oops in chat. Yep. Good game. I think my opponent had some opportunities to make this game much scarier for me. So, like, this could name something different. That Magus could, like, choose to not block instead. Or, like, there was something else, too. It was the previous game, the other Disruptor Flute naming Vampire Hexmage, when I think it was pretty clear that that card was not in my hand. Painter is a super skill-intensive deck. It is a hard deck to play. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you're looking to store your decks online, you're not going to find a better website. It's super organized and easy to use, and I sort everything that I do into a ton of format-specific folders, and you can customize the way that you use Moxfield to your liking. Whether you like text views or visual views of multiple different natures, Moxfield has it all. And it's so easy to use, you might even say that it's a snap. All right, opening hand on the draw. In Barrow-goyf, backed by Thoughtseize, we trust. Don't Thoughtseize me, my body can't take it. Tundra. Tamiyo. All right. We're doing stuff and things. Dark Ritual. I have 5 total mana. I have too many things that I want to do. I really want to do this into this. That's how I want this to play out. And that's the best line if there's no counterspells. If I don't put this into play this turn, life's tough for me. I think I need to do this, though. Woohoo! That is 3 pieces of the same side of the combo. All right. Well, I can kill the creature ones, and I can't touch the others. I'm going to take Shuko. Grafdigger's Cage is okay. I think I'm just going to do this, clear the Tamiyo, and then next turn I can Dark Ritual Barrow-goyf. My opponent, unfortunately, just gets to, like, start doing an Urza Saga game. There's Nomads. They don't have the next untapped land. There's Dark Ritual. Please don't top deck exactly Cephalid Illusionist. I can get my threat into play and then do this the following turn to stop Cephalid Illusionist. All right, cool. Bowmasters is an okay draw. Send in. I imagine that we will see a Construct Chump block here. And we do. I gain some life for the fair games. I'm not worried about the fair games. I'm worried about the unfair one. Because Nadu just basically beats me on the spot. Alright, love seeing that mana tapped for things that aren't Nadu. There's a Shuko. And there goes the Hedge Maze. Uh-oh. That's bad. Dark Depths is close to good. Notably, opponent did not equip their Shuko to either creature there. Yep, so there's another chump block. This does not tap for mana right now without an Urborg in play. I'm passing the turn there, unfortunately. Okay. That's not a guarantee of death. That's just bad. Urborg is one of my ideal draws. Urborg lets me Mutated Cultist immediately. There's the other Nomads. Yep. An opponent is going to go ahead and chip in. That's fine. Pithing Needle is not as good as you might think here. Yeah. Alright, opponent blocks. I will go ahead and cast this. I think I name Shuko knowing that I can kill this creature at some point. Like, it's not that hard. There's a Prismatic Ending to take out my Goyf. I'm totally fine. I just need more mana. Fantastic. I think I'm just going to do this before my opponent can get more draws. We will go bam, bam. Yep. That doesn't tap for mana. Now my opponent gets to reuse that hedge maze to surveil again and try to find a Nadu. Or just ponder. That's a ponder shuffle. That is what I want to see. There's another land. There's another nomads. I'll take some damage here. I mean, as much as I want to do this with my 2 mana, this is probably better. Opponent fetches in response. Presumably the hedge maze is now back in the deck. Or there's another one. Opponent leaves it on top. Shut off nomads. So nomads and Shuko are off, and the graveyard-oriented combo is off. I still have no confidence that I'm going to win this game, because my opponent's pivot plans are just so good. They are still just clocking me for 3 a turn, which is fine. Okay, that's a big break. So there's Urza's Saga. There's a Mutated Cultist, removing all the counters from my Dark Depths. So this gives me a 20/20, but my opponent has Prismatic Endings and Swords to Plowshares in their deck, so I should not assume that this is good enough to win. But it is this time. I feel like I dodged a whole bunch of bullets in that game. GG. So basically, I need to interact as many times as humanly possible, and it still might not be good enough. I think we are into a pile of flutes and removal. I think we assume on average that Pithing Needle is what I get off of a Dark Depths. I don't think I get to keep cute slots in the deck here. I think basically everything needs to interact with my opponent's combo, and then I probably rely on these to win the late game. Bowmasters is probably on average worse than these cards that are coming in, despite being a fine card. Feed the Swarm is nice. It can destroy Urza's Saga directly. I think I'm going to get rid of 1 map here. Then it feels a little trickier what I do. I think since I'm boarding in so many other 2-drops, it's reasonable to go down on these. But Vampire Hexmage is better at dodging Prismatic Ending. Like, if I Mutated Cultists, the Dark Depths Prismatic Ending can kill my Marit Lage, whereas with Vampire Hexmage, that's not the case. Let's do 1 and 1. I guess there's also timelines where I could go down Dark Rituals and just keep mana-heavy hands in a lot of cases. I don't think that's a crazy approach either. Hand is totally solid. I make a 20/20 on turn 3 while being able to Pithing Needle, a reasonable play. Sure. So let's go bam, bam. I think I named Nomads first. Again, no guarantee that this is going to stick around or anything. Opponent is a Prismatic Ending deck after all. Brainstorm is a thing. If I try to feed the Swarm the Tamiyo, I think I'm fine with using a sorcery speed card right now. Opponent's going to draw a card. Could get dazed. Force of Negation instead. Well, that's fine. This was a sorcery, so that was always going to be valid. Opponent will get a new clue. Alright, there is a Brainstorm now. I can Disruptor Flute the backside of that. And I can do it while still doing my primary plan. Is this the next spell? This is the next spell. It's not total mana amount. I can do that and then Disruptor Flute this. Cool, cool. Ooh. Actually, I'm not sure if that does anything. I don't care about this getting dazed. This getting dazed technically matters. It's just very awkward if I cast this and then my opponent were to counter it. Whereas I don't care about them countering this. Yeah. I think we're not going to Dark Ritual. There is also this line, which I don't think I like as much. So then we will do freebie Disruptor Flute. Good enough for a fetch. This might just be my opponent double fetching to draw with clue tokens. It is a Swords. Okay. That's fine as long as this does resolve. I have a totally fine pivot plan that I could go into. Trop. Do you have a consign? No consign. They're just fetching. So we will shut off Tamiyo. Prismatic Endings are still things. Like, this stuff is not there forever. I can do it in your upkeep after Serenity resolves, which I think I have to do. I'll still poke the Tamiyo. I would like to take that off the table. I can make another land drop here if I Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual, Expedition Map, crack with the remaining Dark Ritual mana, grab a Depths, and then play this. That seems like a fine use of my resources. I don't love how long this is sitting on the stack for. Opponent, Force of Negations aggressively. Alright. That means that I don't get to Disruptor Flute immediately. That's fine. Like, I got 2 cards with Force of Negation instead of just 1. My Serenity, their Serenity gives them a 2-for-1 and turns Tamiyo back on. Tamiyo very easily could have just minused there, I think. Gonna be the same sort of line as last turn. Gonna be the same sort of line as last turn. Yeah. Alright, now there's the Tamiyo plus. I'm attacking out of spite. Dark Ritual, Expedition Map, Rack, Dark Depths, play Dark Depths. I think I'm going to go ahead and pass turn, let them fetch and surveil. And then I think after a surveil, but before my opponent untaps, I Disruptor Flute. All right, opponent keeps their card. Now we flute, and we continue to fight over Tamiyo. Notably, I can just lose to double combo piece here, right? Like, I've been fighting over this Tamiyo for turns and turns and turns. We can just see Nadu plus Nomads out of hand as the 2 remaining cards, and I die to it. Seems like it's Prismatic Ending instead. Yeah, there's the ending. But now Tamiyo does Tamiyo stuff. Tamiyo ultimates at 7, and this attack is not valid. Yeah, like I can put a 5/6 body into play, but that's just not doing it. I really hope Tamiyo is not legal for much longer. It is exhausting trying to fight this hard over a 1-mana permanent. That Serenity was rough. So I don't know that there's much I can do about that, because my plan is very much lock down my opponent's resources. I don't think this has enough active mana. They have good cards. This is a lot of interaction. But, like, I can't use Expedition Map or Feed the Swarm or Shoulder's Edict without spiking another land. I think I'll mulligan. Rough. Go to 5. 5-card hand is not great. This also just has a singular mana source. I think at this point we are at the I have to keep it and hope the top of the deck is kind to me stage. I'm going to go Disruptor Flute back. Swamp, pass turn. We only have 23 lands in the deck, and some of them don't actually produce mana. But we luck out this time. I'm not going to get to use my mana in the second turn cycle, though, which is unfortunate. These are both sorcery speed removal cards. This is something you can get back with the Overlord, which is pretty cool, but it does mean that, like, I am significantly slower here at answering these cards. What a bullshit situation to be placed into. I can either answer the card that threatens to kill me immediately, or answer the card that threatens to kill me immediately, but it takes a bunch of turns to actually die. I suspect it is not correct to play Mutated Cultist. Ugh. This card either does nothing or everything. This card always does something. Alright, I suspect we die. And it's just a question of, do we die now or later? The Tamiyo is devastating. Alright, that's that. GG. Alright. That doesn't do anything. This'll do something. For sure. I think Orcish Bowmasters is the least exciting of the cards here. I think this is my 1, 2, 3 curve. We do not want to see Wasteland when we Thoughtseize here. Wasteland on this Urborg destroys my hand instantly. So we're probably playing against Doomsday. Multiple Days is pretty bad for me. Dark Ritual is the card that lets them go the fastest, but I think they need a couple of turns to sculpt anyway. I think I'm going to take their good turn 1 card in the form of Ponder. Ready for the top card to be Doomsday. Oh, just turn 1 sorcery speed Brainstorm, perhaps in respect of Orcish Bowmasters. This means that they don't get to shuffle right away, and are redrawing at least one of those cards. There's a few different lines here. I think I'm just going to do this one. If this resolves, cool. Sometimes my opponent doesn't even counter this. This doesn't do anything for a very long time, and then I get them with the on-cast trigger next turn. Alright, well, we didn't have any friends to get back. So this was actually very big game that this resolved, But because we are playing a, weirdo oddball deck, this was not apparent to my opponent. No, my cultist. Yeah. All right. Fuck you, Doomsday. Yeah. Trigger on Overlord. Opponent fetches, surveils, junks an Edge of Autumn. Now, this is just a 1/3 with no real text. I don't think you need to daze this here. I am wrong. I haven't started doing math of like Doomsday rounding for whether or not that is right. Trigger. Yes. Well, I think I'm going to take a Mutated Cultist. Opponent goes down to 12. So if they Doomsday this turn off a Dark Ritual, they are at 6, and I would need to find an Orcish Bowmasters to kill them. They are not Doomsdaying immediately. That ticks up. That's not a great draw. I'll go to combat. Send on in for 5 again. Yes. I guess a Goyf is just big. Opponent is down to 7. I want to present lethal next turn. I can do that a couple of different ways. Let's see. So Urza Saga is 1, 2. I can have a 3/3 creature, but not have the mana to equip Lava Spur Boots to get in there with the other one unless I top deck a land. Sparrow Goyf is just super dazable. I think I will still just make the Urza Saga construct token because of that. Opponent is at 6. Surveilling. It is very possible for my opponent to play Doomsday and win immediately. Not this time, though. Initial Thoughtseize taking that Ponder bought us a lot of time. GG. Now, the good news is we won game 1. The bad news is their deck probably gets better. Their deck probably gets more better than my deck does. Double comparative. Very awkward to say. Their deck increases their average card quality more than mine does. Dress is a fine pickup too. Gonna go Cage out. Having to also think about Tamiyo's is kind of rough. Are all Doomsday decks just on 4x Tamiyo right now? Looks like there's a mix of Barrow-Goyf and Tamiyo as sideboard options. I think that means I don't play Snuff Out if it's going to miss Barrow-Goyf. Probably go down one of those. I think I'll go down both of those. Go down Sorcery Speed Removal. Go up these. They hit either side of Tamiyo and also hit Goyf. That seems reasonable. I am a little light on Urza Saga tutor targets. I don't think I like this. The mana is not stable here. I like this a lot. We'll keep this. And I probably just get rid of Mutated Cultist and try to find a different mid-range threat. Sure. Are we Thought Season? Are we Ponderin'? We are Ponderin'. Bringing up something that sometimes people say in the comments. Some people in the comments say that I should Disruptor Flute a Thassa's Oracle rather than a Doomsday. I don't like that. There are some Doomsday piles that involve things like Jace Wielder of Mysteries that just totally don't use Thassa's Oracle at all, and then your opponent very easily wins through the flute, and the flute doesn't accomplish anything. Whereas if you put it on Doomsday, the flute always does something. The rationale for putting it on Thassa's Oracle is that it's very hard to build a Doomsday pile that quickly wins with Oracle and has enough mana to do its thing. It has a Lotus Petal as well. I think I am into casting this Dark Ritual and then doing both of these immediately. So, yeah. I get dazed. That's fine. That means that my Duress and Disruptor Flute are both live later. Opponent didn't Dark Ritual Doomsday me immediately, so hopefully I get a pass for another turn. Underground Sea. Fantastic. Yeah, it's just a cantrip. I mean, just a cantrip. Cantrips are good. Let's be real. So opponent capped. All right. That's nice versus some of the backup plans here. We're not in a hurry. I think I will play around days if I'm not goldfishing quickly anyway. But sometimes a Doomsday is like the top card of my opponent's library right now. Cabal Ritual, Flusterstorm, Force of Will, Street Wraith. Flusterstorm does not answer Disruptor Flute. Duress does not take Street Wraith for if my opponent casts the Doomsday immediately. Sometimes I die if I don't take Cabal Ritual. His opponent can Doomsday, then Street Wraith cycle. And there's a good chance that Doomsday is there. But if I don't take Force of Will, then I can never resolve the Disruptor Flute. So I think I'm going to take Force of Will and hope that things don't go the way I think they are going to go. Yeah. So there's the Doomsday. All right, my opponent has built their pile. There's Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. There's the Cycle. There's the Brainstorm. So here's the LED. Now my opponent will cast a cantrip and crack LED in response, or Street Wraith. Same thing. There's Consider, and enough mana to Thassa's Oracle with 0 cards in library, so not even the Edict would matter there. GG. We were in a bad situation either way, where if I take the Cabal Ritual, it only will slow them down by 1 turn, and then I can't Disruptor Flute or do anything meaningful to stop them because of the Force of Will. That just did not pan out well. I am okay with how I have sideboarded, though. I could bring in 1 Pithing Needle for Jace, Wielder of Mysteries now that I know that my opponent has it, and that's, like, totally reasonable. Opening hand's fine. I think the big question is, how do I use Dark Ritual? I think I just throw down immediately with Dark Ritual, and perhaps Urborg should have been the land that I played first. ThrabenU. My spells get to resolve. Opponent does not have a lot of mana. I think I'm just Disruptor Fluting Doomsday and taking Rainstorm. I can let my opponent Thoughtseize my Goyf and just win with Urza Saga Construct tokens. There's a cheekier line where I take a Doomsday and Pithing Needle Scalding Tarn, or Disrupting Flute Scalding Tarn, which is, like, not bad, actually. Then I get to keep my Goyf. Yeah, I'm into it. Do Doomsday, there's Disruptor Flute. Cut off my opponent's only true blue source. Now I'd like to avoid playing Urborg. I would draw another non-Urborg land, that would be great. Technically, that's what I asked for. Yeah. I'll play the Urborg next turn if I have to, but that goes against my Scalding Tarn line a bit. So Cavern does not make blue mana. If I give my opponent black mana, their Thoughtseize is online. Overlord. That seems fine. I think I'm just better off making construct tokens here than playing something that can be countered. Yeah, you can have one of those. That's fine. All right, there's actual blue mana. Now opponent can begin to play Magic. It's very possible that, like, since Urborg was one of my lands in my hand, that it was just incorrect to do the Disruptor Flute line that I took. I didn't think about that immediately at the time. Another Urborg is not what I'm looking for. So there's 3/3s. There's Boots. These are 4/4s. There's Depths and Equip. This is just half of my opponent's life total. So past the turn, Doomsday lines are fully off the table now. And we have lethal next turn. There's no time to set up Personal Tutor. I guess it's possible to set up Personal Tutor and then draw it and Dark Ritual, but, like, it's very difficult to have the mana left over to Thassa's Oracle after all of this if you don't go in with some amount of floating mana. There's a Shuffle, which I like to see. That's a Wizard. We are on Thassa's Oracle as blocker mode. My opponent is going to die. Can't be consigned. This isn't blue mana. Bam, bam, bam. Mutated Cultist. Target Dark Depths. Remove all of the ice counters from it. Producing my 2020. Play Urborg. Keep this one. Boots over to Marit Lage. And then that is 20 in the air. 21 in the air, really. And we take down that match. GG. What's our record at now? We're 2-1, so we are going positive. Alrighty, I have an okay mix of lands and spells. Ooh, scary card. So, when do I Thoughtseize? Urborg, Dark Ritual, Expedition Map, Crack Expedition Map, get Dark Depths. Turn 2, play Dark Depths, play Vampire Hexmage. Hopefully win. Kozilek's command is a disaster. I think I am going to start proceeding in that direction. And sometimes I just don't do it. Yeah. Dark Depths. So opponent can have things like Disruptor Flute to mess with Vampire Hexmage, which is online right now. I can wait a turn to Thoughtseize, but if I wait a turn, like, my opponent will have a very large amount of mana in play. I believe that it is probably correct to just YOLO. So, am I waiting? I think I have to wait. Like, now that my opponent passed the turn, taking no game actions. Nice. Thoughtseize, target you. I look forward to the Kozilek's command that leaves a Kozilek's command on top of the library and then fucks up my shit. And Elvish Spirit Guide as well. Kozilek's command for X equals 4, going for spawns and scrying. This could be another K command. Okay. 2, 4, 5, 6 mana next turn. This is can't pay life. Okay. What if Planar Nexus is the top card? Well, I guess the Karakas is a problem too. Yuck. So if I went for it last turn, the K command got me. And now that I didn't, the Karakas is a problem. I think we are just going to take the most castable cards here. I'm going to take the Ugin. I think I will go ahead and do this again immediately. Take the Karn's Silex. Start doing this. Send in for 2, which might actually be 0. Oh shit, I didn't count the Eldrazi spawns for this. But I guess if my opponent taps out for Olamog, I kill them with Dark Depths. Yeah. So now my opponent needs to remember to play Karakas, so... No, I guess they don't need to play Karakas anymore because of this fog. This is bad. I think I was supposed to leave them with Silex, take Olamog, but this still just beats me. Like, I can work towards Pithing Needle, but then this is a problem. I think I'm just dead. I think we're going to... Or just make a Construct token. But my opponent now has 6 cards in hand, a ton of mana. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So can they keep Karakas open yet? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, they can cast Olamog here, keeping Karakas up, and I think that beats me. And Urza Saga doesn't come down fast enough to stop the One Ring in this instance. I'm probably a turn cycle too slow. All right, I think I could have played this game slightly better, but I think based on how these cards lined up, my opponent just ends up beating me. Like, with a hand that had 5 different relevant cards, my Thoughtseize could not pick that apart. GG. Disruptor Flutes are totally reasonable here. The rest is fine. Bowmasters and Marauder are actively bad. Grafdigger's Cage does not matter. I think this is probably not going to make the cut here. I don't super want to be playing removal spells. I want things that just kill my opponent. But I probably, to some extent, need to respect Blaring Fleshraker as a thing. I can also just keep Bowmasters because it's good against the One Ring, even though it's unimpressive as a threat. Could go down Snuff Outs and then consider playing something that can just answer a resolved Planeswalker instead. Map's a little slow here. Goyf is also a little slow. Opponent doesn't throw too many things to the graveyard to make it bigger. That requires my work. I'll reluctantly keep them. I think there's some room for finessing this sideboarding plan. Yes. Turn 1, Thoughtseize. Turn 2, 2020. All right, opponent is on 7. I will Thoughtseize. Opponent fires off a Once Upon a Time in response. Getting a Cloud Post, which is something I can't take with a Thoughtseize. Ooh. So Disruptor Flute does not happen in the first turn cycle, unless my opponent draws an untapped land. which I think means I'm just taking this Kozilek's command. And I'll pass turn. All right, nice. So land drop, Dark Ritual, Mutated Cultist, remove all of the ice counters from Dark Depths. And I could technically cast this for 1 mana afterwards as well. I think I hold it. I think 2/2 beatdown is not a super good backup plan, whereas this killing a planeswalker might be. Spirit Guide. Yeah. I don't know what to say there. I don't know what you want me to fucking say there. You got it. There's a Cloud Post. Thoughtseize. Target you. Good God. All right. I mean, I'm taking the One Ring. I was planning on taking that Ugin, but the One Ring comes down earlier. I'm going to send in for 1. Again, keeping Mutated Cultist. I am not on board with the 10-turn clock beatdown plan. I don't think that works here. 19. All right, no land drop from the opponent. Disruptor Flute is live. Yeah. Opponent takes 1. I'll just pass the turn. I will probably end up casting a Disruptor Flute just to use my mana at my opponent's end step. Opponent will probably attack my combo pieces with Disruptor Flutes. And then my hope is that I can draw, the Barrogoyfs and the Overlords and try to ride those to victory. I might end up holding Disruptor Flute for a little while. Sometimes things like Karn's Silex come into play later that matter. Other times I need to stop a Karakas. All right. Yeah. 17. Caress you. The other Disruptor Flute can come down in response. It doesn't. God! Ah! I will take the One Ring. Ugin persists. Opponent not playing out the second Disruptor Flute immediately. Bog has text here. That might end up shrinking a Barrogoyf in the future. All right, there's a Vampire Hexmage. Currently costs 3 more to cast. 16. Pass turn. Did you draw another One Ring? No, it's a Once Upon a Time. That's fine. There's Planar Nexus, which starts powering up Cloud Post. 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. Possible to get to Ugin next turn. This might be the point where I just kind of cash in Disruptor Flute. Before doing this, of course, I will now draw like a discard spell that could take it. Nope. Okay. Send in. Opponent's at 15. I'm going to cast a Dark Ritual and see if my opponent will play Disruptor Flute in response. In reality, I'm just going to use this to put 2 power into play. But they don't know that. I think I actually should have done this before playing a land. Opponent in the tank about how to use this Disruptor Flute. But they don't respond. There's Vampire Hexmage. This game, I think, is slowly favoring my opponent. All it's going to take is 1 Haymaker. That brings opponent to 12. I'll just make my land drop and pass. Again, I am saving this to rip counters off a Planeswalker if we reach that stage of the game. That's a Karn. We've reached that stage of the game. Okay, Karn just pluses. I can cleanly answer Karn with Mutated Cultist. So this means that I don't have this anymore for the Ugin body. The Ugin body is a problem even if the abilities of that card are off. Send in for 3. Opponent has never seen Mutated Cultist before and they think it's pretty strong. Yeah, it's really neat. Opponent hit another Haymaker. Oof, that's One Ring number 3. So we don't have that Pithing Needle or anything, so that's just good to go. Overlord. I don't have any ways to rip counters off of that with this Disruptor Fluted. I could wait and try to play this on 5 mana. I think I'd rather have looks at a Bowmaster right now. Did not hit off my cantrip. Rough. Can't play this due to Disruptor Flute. Attacks are no good due to the One Ring. Bad turn for me. This might be the turning point. My opponent has been a little bit choked on mana, but as soon as they get mana, like 10 mana Ugin is not crazy. So this brings them to 8. I'm not presenting lethal next turn, even if they take 2 damage. That's a total of 6. I would need to find 2 more damage elsewhere. Yeah, we're getting a scary mana territory. We're not quite to Olamogs or anything, but we're in that wheelhouse. And the mid-range stuff like Karn's Silex is very, very bad for me right now. If I lose loot and 3 bodies at the same time. I don't think I can win. That top deck crop rotation at the beginning of the game. So rough. There's a spirit guide. There's a crop rotation. That can be another Urza's tower. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Uh-oh. There's a disruptor flute on a mutated cultist. That makes them more expensive. All right. I can't activate this. I'm not dead yet, but I am very badly burned. Send in for 4. Put opponent to 4. And I think, again, we are on the 5 mana vampire hexmage. I overpaid by 1 there. The opponent goes to 2. They need to do something big this turn. Mutated cultists notably are devoid. So Ugin doesn't just innately kill those, I suppose. That's bad. Wait, is it? If there's another One Ring, it's bad. If the 4th One Ring is in the sideboard and not in the main deck. Fuck, it is. Okay. So that will buy my opponent another turn. Meaning they don't die to their initial One Ring. Spirit Guide now. Arn Silex? Fuck. Yeah, that's bad. Well, I don't play that out into the Silex. You know what? Everybody can attack Karn. So now my opponent presumably does Karn's Silex for X equals 5, clears 6 of my permanents, and then easily wins with Ugin. Alright, they did it for 3. I have been left with a permanent. We'll see if that matters. There's a Cloud Post. I guess it doesn't matter, right? Because the Ugin cast trigger cleans up Overlord. Yeah, that doesn't matter then. Their play was right. Now I imagine that Ugin just makes some mana and gains some life, and this game is not tenable anymore. I mean, I can Edict the Ugin and then lose to this, which is what we're going to do. Sack that Planeswalker. Yeah. And that is an each opponent that does not target. Opponent goes to 4. I guess there's not any more One Rings. Doesn't matter if I get Emrakul'd for infinite turns. Emrakul Crocus plus 15 mana. That kills me in 2 turns. That's faster than their One Ring kills them. That'll do. That was rough. GG. All right. Final round here. Opponent says hello to YouTube. We have a very different sort of hand than most of the hands that I have played thus far. This is just a very controlling hand instead of a combo-oriented hand. I have a billion different ways to kill this. They can keep that. I also don't care about Lightning Bolt. It shouldn't kill this by the time it comes down. I think I'm just going to take one of their redraws. So there's the Volk. There's the DRC. And then we'll have this Bauble come down immediately. And my opponent can Surveil. Junking a Lightning Bolt in process. And their draw was another Bauble. And I imagine both of these are just going to hit the graveyard immediately as redraws. I'm wrong. Opponent waited. I think if I take Bauble, that's a sign that I don't want you to Force of Will something, potentially. That's how I might read that, and I might cash those both in immediately. I'd also cash them in before Bowmasters is a concern. And I think I'm just going to play my worst one of these here. This is sorcery speed, and this is something I can get back with an Overlord later. Yeah, you can see my next card. That's fine. Goodbye. So this is a 5/6 already. So we are already living through a Lightning Bolt. We know there is a Force of Will over there. So if I could play this game where I remove some stuff, bait out the Force of Will, and then stick this, that would be great. Fuck, that is the exact card that I do not want to see. That goes wide of these removal spells very easily. That probably means that I just have to shove into Force of Will immediately. There's some unknown cards over there. There's a very good chance that one of them is either a Daze or a blue card. But I think we're going in. The upside of this resolving is huge. Force pitching force. All right. So now my single target removal spells are pretty bad, and we want to work towards Marit Lage stuff, but that can also be problematic. All right, cool. I mean, I'll cast this. It's not great in the face of Wasteland. So we're going to crack this and just get something that my opponent feels like they probably have to wasteland, which I think is Urza's Saga. Forcing them to wasteland maybe sometimes can keep them from casting 2 spells in a turn, or potentially equipping here. Alright, there's a land drop. Yep, I'll float some mana. No monks from Corey Steelcutter yet. That's great. Nice. I think we're just doing that immediately and getting back a reasonable Magic the Gathering card to cast next turn. This is good enough to get a response. Just a Surveil land. That's a Force of Will, pitching a Daze. Now my opponent can Lightning Bolt me to make a monk, which they do. My opponent's on 0 cards. I think I just Edict that token right now. Please sacrifice a creature token. It cannot be dazed right now. Alright. Delver of Secrets. I'll take that out with a Snuff Out. My Thoughtseize is very bad. Full price. Snuff Out. 100% safe. My fear is that my opponent just draws a Ponder or a Brainstorm and can start playing multiple cards. Rather have used a Snuff Out on that. Mutated Cultist doesn't really have text right now. Not blocking this. I could play it to potentially block a monk that happens. I think I would rather save it for my own combo potential. Opponent did not equip Corey Steelcutter there. They potentially have something that they need to use mana for. Yikes. Let's don't interact with this. Thespian stage. Okay. I think I am passing turn again. Thoughtseize is dead. Mutated Cultist is somewhat dead. This is very bad. Daze and Misty to graveyard. There's the second cantrip. My next draw has to be bananas. I can technically Thespian stage, copy a swamp here in this turn cycle, I guess, rather than just F6ing. I feel like I have navigated this game pretty well, and it just has not paid off for me. I'm at 4. I'm in range of being burnt out either by burn or by Corey Steelcutter going wide. Grafdigger's Cage, not doing what I need it to do here. We're dead in the air even if I play Mutated Cultist. Could technically have Thoughtseized to see one more card there. Alright. There's removal spells, and here's a few other things that I can be thinking about. Grafdigger's Cage can go. I'm not super excited about Thoughtseize, honestly, although Corey Steelcutter is a card that I would like to Thoughtseize, but most of the rest of the cards in their deck I'm not super interested in. Rite of Consumption I don't think I'm super interested in. Is Duress good enough since it does not cause life loss, but misses the creatures? Maybe not. It's fine. My hope for beating Corey Steelcutter is 20 in the air, or bury them in life. This is an okay set of cards. I'm fine with this. But if we didn't win that first game with that many removal spells and good tools, the long-term prognosis for winning this matchup is not great. I'm fine keeping this hand, and I don't think we try to go turbo turn 2 kill versus this deck. I think I am just going to lead on my basic land and try to play a slightly longer game. My hope is to exhaust opposing resources and then present a combo kill after I've given my opponent a few chances to counter some stuff. Misty Rainforest and pass the turn. We start here? If something gets wastelanded, I would like it to be this. I think I'll start here. Gives my opponent an okay daze target, but I do think I want to be using my mana. If I don't use it now, I might not use it for a while. Full on Force of Will. That's why we didn't go for this immediately. Wasteland me. No Surveil land, by the way, so opponent could be wanting to Brainstorm and fetch this turn. Or the Surveil land was in hand already. Opponent is passing the turn. This means that I can get some decent Urza's Saga value. That was probably the card that I was fetching. Plans have changed. There's Urborg. Alright, opponent not fetching there. I think it's very possible their list has 2 Thundering Falls. I'm actually going to check that. Where are people falling on that right now? That's a Corey Steelcutter. Having a random league result. 1 Thundering Falls, a random challenge result. 1 Thundering Falls, 1 more to double check. Alright, they are on 1 right now. And there is a Wasteland, but my opponent is not firing it off. They might do so here after I activate this. Okay, they're not, which means that I'm going to get another Urza Saga Construct token, which apparently they don't care about. If you're gonna meltdown me, you're gonna meltdown me. And it's gonna be real good. I believe it is still correct to cast this in the times where my opponent does not have meltdown. This puts my creatures outside of range of lightning bolt, which is a big deal. 15. That's an unholy heat for 2 damage. So presumably there is now going to be a fetch and a lightning bolt effect. Okay, so they're just casting unholy heat to trigger Corey Steelcutter. That's fine. My opponent gets a monk. I can clear a little bit of their graveyard in process. I don't have the mana to draw. Now I'm hoping this is where my mid-range stuff starts taking over. I'll give my opponent a couple of turns to mess around with my mid-range stuff and then try to kill them with the combo. Nice. Daze is great versus this. Don't have the Daze. Wasteland's very good. Wasteland on my Urborg is insane right now. That denies 2 mana. Opponent goes for the Dark Depths instead. I'm very happy about that. Do I play Overlord first? I don't think so. I think I just go ahead and swing in like this. There's the full-on chump block. And I think I go ahead and play Pithing Needle on Wasteland so I don't lose future land drops. Like, as long as I get to deploy cards, I think I outpace Corey Steelcutter. Opponent does not have Delirium. So maybe get rid of Barrogoyf with a single card. Like, if this connects, the game is likely over in my favor. Excellent. Yeah, I'll mill 5 cards. I will get back an Edict. And I think I am just fine playing another. Like, if you counter it, cool. If you don't, cooler. Opponent says, oof, too much. Excellent. I'm pretty happy with how I played that one out, choosing to be conservative. With this Vampire Hexmage that stayed in my hand the entire game, despite like having the possibility of doing Dark Depths on turn 2. I like how that played out. I think I'm okay with not having discard. I think this is fine. I think if you are trying to end the game as quickly as combo, treating this like a... Sorry. If you are trying to end the game as quickly as possible, playing this full on like a combo deck, the discard is better. But I am trying to play super patiently and exhaust my opponent's resources. This is fine. Wasteland is really good against this hand, though. That's for sure. I would rather you just ponder on turn 1. Like, Ponder or Delver, please don't DRC. DRC, I think, is very scary here. Like, DRC into Wasteland on this Urborg is bad. Okay, fantastic. Happy with that. Now, if beggars can be choosers, the top card of my library is now a basic swamp. Negative. We play Dark Depths so that Dark Depths gets Wastelanded if my opponent has Wasteland. This is probably a hand where I am shoving a combo on turn 2. Alright, it's not Wasteland. Alright. Well, it begins. Alright, it is in play. We'll pass turn. Ooh, punished for waiting. So this is not all that bad, right? Because I can make them Wasteland the Dark Depths. And then just play another one and another Vampire Hexmage. That's fine. Yeah, okay. So now I keep my Urborg, which I was terrified of being Wastelanded anyway. Cool. Alright, nice, nice. So I might exhaust my opponent's resources with the combo this time, and then beat them with fair mid-range stuff. Alright. That's a Surveil land. Opponent keeps a card. Alright, nice. We eat a Force of Will and get a Murktide Regent for our trouble, which was a live card. Opponent brainstorms. So scared of Wasteland on Urborg. It's so bad for me. Okay, that's not Wasteland. Oh, this deck's great. So there's Urza's Saga. This is a 4/5, meaning that we are outside of range of just a Lightning Bolt 1-for-1 answering this, which is very good for me. Opponent really needs to be attacking for 3 while answering my stuff. Alright, there is a Daze. I can't pay for... They've floated a red. I don't imagine that's actually doing anything here. Yeah. And now hopefully I just pivot into Urza Saga Beatdown for a couple of turns. I could do this instead. Like, this gets... My opponent has had something in hand for a couple turns, and there's a decent chance that Meltdown is that something. So if I want to not get time walked for 2 turns worth of mana, I could try to play around Meltdown. But if it's not Meltdown, Shoving Goyf is pretty darn good. There's a fetch to clear, and a DRC. I will probably just snuff that out. Oh, shit. That's really hard to pass up on. Snuff out for 4 life. Land drop, and it doesn't even matter if this card resolves or not. Do the thing on Dark Depths. Produce my 20/20. Remember, my next spell costs 10 less. Black mana, 1 mana Barogoyf on top of that. So now even just like a Brazen Borrower on the Marit Lage is not enough anymore. There's an Unholy Heat. Is it Unholy Heat plus Brazen Borrower? It is. All right. That was a hell of a turn on my end, but my opponent gave it right back. Dark Ritual. And get Expedition Map. That just produced another 20/20 right now. So this is essentially Expedition Map plus Activate, play. Yeah, it does. So there's Dark Ritual. We can just make sure the Dark Ritual resolves before Expedition Map. Map. Activate. Thespian stage. Play stage. Tap for mana. Stage. Target depths. We'll do it while Wasteland is not a concern. Keep the one with no ice counters. We made Marit Lage back-to-back on 2 turns, while also playing a Barogoyf. And we did something else too, killing a DRC. Disgusting. Opponent can play this to block a Marit Lage to buy a turn in an attempt to find another Brazen Borrower. Now they can't do that. That's a shuffle. That's a DRC. That blocks for a turn, unless I draw a land. I drew a land. Eldritch Edict, target you. Please sacrifice a non-token creature. Yeah, and yeah. Opponent now needs a Daze or similar card to stay alive. And we have gotten the GGs from the opponent. We win that match for a 2-1, and that puts us at an overall positive record for this league. Alrighty, Funk. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Pretty good. I think this is more well-tuned than the previous version that I played. The deck is certainly going to have some weaknesses, right? We definitely struggled with Ensnaring Bridge in particular as something that was just going to be tough to beat. But I think especially with the changes that I made in an attempt to like resist Tamiyo and other Planeswalkers, we've got a fighting chance versus a lot of stuff. We have powerful, proactive combo draws. We can punch a hole with discard draws. We have the ability to grind things out. I don't think we're pivoting as well as the best decks of the format. So like the Nadu decks, the Reanimator decks, the Mystic Forge decks, I think they pivot easier and faster than we do. But we have the ability to play a couple of different game types here. We have some discard, we have some removal, we have some silver bullets we can search up. I like a lot of what's going on here. Having seen how this league plays out, maybe I don't need Shadow Spear. Maybe that can be something else. Rite of Consumption was something that I needed for Ensnaring Bridge. If that's a real concern, maybe we play more of those. Or maybe we just say, like, okay, we're going to lose to Ensnaring Bridge some portion of the time. Snuff Out was pretty darn good. I don't know how many more of those you can play without needing to keep the Shadow Spear, though. Like, Thoughtseize plus Snuff Out is a little bit of tension on your own life total. But you're not Ancient Tombing here, so I guess there's that. I like this a lot. Thank you for donating for this. I guess as a final thought, I'm not sure how many cards that look like this you are supposed to play. I think I like the one. Maybe more of the sideboard removal should be instants. Having 2 Feed the Swarms and a Cursed Marauder as all sorcery speed interaction was notable in one round. I don't remember exactly what the situation was, but like that did come up. But overall, I liked this a lot. This was a lot of fun, and I hope you all enjoyed. Have a great rest of the day, folks. See ya.